You wouldn't believe this, but HBO Max, in spite of all the backlash that the new series Velma has gotten, they could possibly greenlight a second season. Why am I not surprised? So I'm guessing most of us have seen the first 2 episodes of the new series of Velma, and it is an absolute shit show. Right from the first moment that they released the trailer a couple of months ago to this show, most of us knew that the show was going to be an absolute disaster. Why? Because instead of trying to appeal to the fans, they decided to take shots at the fans, implying that the fans were just racist, sexist, bigoted people who will just hate on the show regardless. And when the first 2 episodes were released, what do we have? Everybody. And when I say everybody hated this show, everybody hates this show. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics do not like this show. It still sits at 53% rotten. And when it comes to the audience, it's an abysmal rating of 7%. I don't think I've seen anything worse. The only thing I've seen that is up to this or close to this has been The Witcher Blood Origin. And even when you head over to IMDb, it still has an abysmal score of 1.5 out of 10 star rating. It had 1.7 out of 10 star rating. It seems like it is dropping, and it is dropping fast. I think if this thing could hit 0, it probably would, but this is the worst that I have seen of any show rating on IMDb, period. When you head over to Metacritic, what about Metacritic? It is currently sitting with the audience at a 0.4 rating out of 10, 0.4. And when you take a look at what audience have been rating it, a lot of audience have been rating it 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And of course, you know that the Access Media is going to step out and try to defend this show and tell us that this show people are just review bombing and hating on it. However, people do have legitimate reason for not liking this. As someone here, Aristocrat Lavnar, said, racist, race swapping characters, out of date crap tier jokes, and woke LGBT propaganda. 100% correct, all in one statement. I never thought anybody could eloquently explain the entire series, as it were, especially the first 2 episodes that we've seen, but this kind of sums it all up. But regardless of all of this backlash, regardless of everything that everybody has been saying, regardless of the fact that the Gen Zs that it was made for, the Gen Zs don't like it. As Gen Z Scooby Doo fans are upset with Mindy Kaling as she uses Velma to insert herself into the series, which is something that I said just yesterday, that it was a self-insert, and a lot of people did not like the fact that Mindy Kaling tried to insert herself in a show that was beloved by all. So nobody truly likes this show. But what does Mindy Kaling herself do after the show was released? Well, she is celebrating the negative reviews, the negative response of the audience. She's celebrating it, and she goes on to Twitter to say thank you everyone for watching, and makes this fantastic post, fantastic in a bad way, saying, Velma, biggest premiere day for a Max original animated series ever. Which is practically saying nothing, because many of the original Max animated series from HBO are being cancelled. Many of them that have bastardized other IPs, original IPs that people beloved, have been cancelled. However, there is one thing I will say about this post, though. It does allude us to the fact that this show is actually performing a lot of miracles. One key miracle was mentioned by somebody out here who testified and said, I am paralyzed from the waist down. After 20 years in a wheelchair, I finally stood up to turn your show off. Testify, brother or sister or whoever you are. Testify. Which this post right now is having 11.7k likes, as compared to the original post of Mindy Kaling herself, 3,331. That's an epic ratio. And what's funny about this is that Mindy Kaling herself, she has got about 11 million followers. And this young man who posted this, T, or whatever his name is, I'll just call him T for the sake of not mispronouncing his name, has only got 16 followers. So she's getting ratioed by somebody who has 16 followers. And regardless of that, regardless of all the backlash that people have been commenting, people reposting what it is being rated as, people talking about the over-sexualization of these people, because these kids, the Scooby Doo gang, this is when they were 15 years old, and terrible jokes and everything, as summarized by what I read to you guys, it is terrible, full of propaganda and everything. Regardless regardless of all the complaints that they are receiving, it seems that HBO Max might be greenlighting a season 2. So HBO Velma series reportedly getting a second season despite backlash. So let's read a little bit about this. I'm going to share my opinion because I think that there could be a possibility, knowing Hollywood for what they are, that this show might actually get a season 2. HBO's new animated show Velma, a Scooby Doo show that focuses on the titular character, will still be getting a second season despite early reviews and audience reception for the show being less than positive. So the Scooby Doo franchise is one of the most beloved cartoon series of all times. Absolutely, 100%. I watched this show as a little boy growing up in Nigeria. This is how international this show is, and that was as far back as the late 80s and the early 90s, and I absolutely loved the show. I'm not a big super fan when I grew up, but when I was growing up, I was really into Scooby Doo. Could not wait for Saturday morning to see this movie on Channel 8, I tell ya. But today, the bastardization, it just churns and turns my stomach to see what they have turned this show into. However, the brand new Velma series is receiving much less love than previous Scooby Doo projects. The first season of Velma, a new R-rated Scooby Doo series that focuses on the titular character, mystery gang member, has been review bombed over the past weekend. And these people continue to say that these things have been review bombed, but when you look at the names on the reviewers, you would find out that the reviewers are coming from all over the world. How did we have a meeting? Where did we have a meeting all over the world to say we are going to review bomb this? It's not even possible. However, when shows that people don't like or whatever shows get positive review from critics, they don't say it's positively review bombed by critics. And even critics don't like this thing, as they stated here that the critics don't like it. It currently holds a 55% critical rating from 20 certified users. It actually sits on 53%, so you need some corrections over there, as the critics don't like it either. But you see, they didn't talk about the critics not liking it. They just said only the audience don't like it. Very typical of many of this access media. However, it appears that the show will still be going ahead for a second season despite the early backlash surrounding the first season. This news comes from the Entertainment Identifier Registry, which the registry includes Velma Season 2 as having 11 episodes in it. Now, why does this not surprise me? Well, it doesn't surprise me because when it comes to many of these companies in Hollywood, provided you have the right politics, provided you have the right skin color, provided that you have the infinity stones of wokeness, they will promote you. You can fail upwards as much as you like. As the producer of this show, Candice Rota, has been involved in other shows that bastardize IPs that people beloved. And how did these shows do? Well, she was involved in Thundercats Raw that had an abysmal rating of 2.1 on IMDb, a TV show that was canceled by HBO Max. That was in 2020. And also in 2021, she was involved with Aquaman, King of Atlantis, another show that was bastardized again. They bastardized the original IP, and of course that show was canceled as well. She was also involved in Scooby Doo, The Sword and the Scoob, and that show also got canceled. Now this woman keeps on failing, but what is she getting for her failures? She is getting rewards. She's failing upwards, and that only happens in the bizarre world that we live today in Hollywood. And now she got another show, Velma, and this is going to be getting a season 2. In my opinion, I think it will, because it is so bad. It is the worst of all of these 4 shows that this woman has been involved in. And since you fail upwards, since you do things terribly and they keep on giving you more and more jobs to do, if you fail, provided you have the right politics, the infinity stones of wokeness, if you're a woman, if you're an LGBTQ, and if you're a member of the people of color community, well, I would not be surprised if they green light a part 2, regardless of the fact that this show is horrible. Because when it comes to Hollywood and many of these companies out here, we all know that they have a checklist that comes from a woke bingo book that they're using to actually green light their shows. Race swap, check. Same-sex action, check. Destroy beloved IP, check. And then blame the fans for not liking the new things and propagandas that you're trying to push, check. And this is why I am not surprised that they're going to be greenlighting this show. And I am not surprised because Hollywood isn't after escapism or trying to entertain people anymore. They're trying to influence culture by focusing on promoting sexuality amongst teenagers and even young people. And they are trying to project a lot of what they feel within themselves out into the open. So this was never meant for you. This was meant for them to project it to other people that think like they do and to also influence our young and upcoming generation.